And then he says that savage sin will produce a poor health. He says there, beginning in verse 3, there is no soundness in my flesh. He's talking about physical infirmity. And I read some commentaries that said that, well, David wrote this at some point in his life when he was very sick. He was suffering an illness. And they applied that to a literal illness. Well, I'm sure David had times of illness in his life, but we can't overlook the fact that this illness, where he says, there's no soundness in my flesh, was the direct consequence of some sin. He says, there's no soundness in my flesh because of your anger, nor any health in my bones. His health was being destroyed by the savagery of sin. Because of my sin, for my iniquities have gone over my head. Look at how he describes their drowning in sin. Like a heavy burden, they are too heavy for me. Notice, my wounds are foul and festering. Kind of brings to mind Job, doesn't it? Whose flesh was so festering because of the savagery of the devil against him, trying to get him to deny God. Well, this would be the result of willingly participating in sin. When David says, my wounds are foul and festering because of my foolishness. Why was this poor health being endured in David's life? Well, he says, because of my sin, my iniquities, because of my foolishness. You look over at Romans chapter 1 and verse 27, and I know people have kind of gotten themselves in trouble by referring to this passage with some of the physical ailments that go hand in hand with sin. And the Apostle Paul, writing there of the sinful conduct of the Gentile world, comes down to verse 27 and he says, likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust for one another, men with men, committing what is shameful, and receiving in themselves the penalty of their error which was due. And almost every commentator I've read on that passage agrees that when he talks about the penalty of the error there, they're talking about the physical disease and poor health and things that go hand in hand with the kind of lifestyle being described here. You know, you're not going to find too many alcoholics that are in good health. You're not going to find too many promiscuous people that are in good health. They're going to have problems. You're not going to find very many drug addicts that are in good health. That sin will destroy their health. The lifestyle that they live will destroy their health. Because sin not only savages our soul, it savages our physical health. As we see by the riotous lifestyles we see around us all the time. Emergency rooms are full every Friday night with people who have gotten in bar fights and drunk driving accidents and caught cheating spouses and shot each other, and I mean all manner of violence being committed against each other as a direct result of the presence of sin in their lives. Sin will destroy your health. And then David says, going on in verses 6 through 8, I am troubled, I am bowed down greatly, I go mourning all the day long, for my loins are full of inflammation. I would go back to that problem of physical health, but notice the setting here: troubled, greatly bowed down, mourning all the day long. And there is no soundness in my flesh. I am feeble and severely broken. Notice it. I groan because of the turmoil of my heart. So along with the poor health, there's emotional distress. And all of the emotional calamity that goes along with sin and the savagery that sin wreaks in people's lives. The distress that it brings into their heart. As David says there, I groan because of the turmoil of my heart. I'm emotionally distressed because of the presence of sin in my life. The savagery of sin is seen in the emotional distress it causes. And then he says, going on in verse 11, the alienation that sin can cause. My loved ones and my friends stand aloof from my plague. Now, I believe plague there is talking about sin. I would put that along with when he says, because of my sin, my iniquities, my foolishness, my plague. My loved ones and my friends stand aloof from my plague, and my relatives stand afar off. Yeah, I have known people that I didn't want to be around because of the way that they lived. I have been around people and been in association with people that we just couldn't get along because of the lifestyle they lived. The sinful conduct of that worldly lifestyle was just contrary to what I wanted to be. I didn't want it in my presence. And it caused alienation of that person. I know that if I succumb to the savagery of sin, that there are those who will alienate me. My friends and my family would not want to have anything to do with me. That's what sin will do in our lives. It will cause alienation from the people we love.